we did this experiment is because, first, the environmental problem. Fresh food in the supermarket usually use the plastic wrap to package, making lots of plastic trash. So in the foreign country, the trend of the unpacked the food is arising, though it would make the food is easy to be polluted, especially the epidemic is very serious now, which would cause the sanitary problems. Second, the concerns of food safety. Social media indicated that using plastic to package and heat in the microwave and steam cooker may release the substance that is harmful to our body, such as plasticizer. Therefore, in order to solve the environmental problem and the food safety problem, we hope to research the new eco-friendly non-plastic wrap. First, we separate our experiment into 4 parts. The first part is to make non-plastic wrap. After we find out the best ratio of the 2 ingredients, we define our eco-friendly non-plastic wrap. Then we started to test its property and its practical value to prove that our eco-friendly non-plastic wrap can solve the food safety problem and environmental problem that caused by the plastic wrap. In the part of making non-plastic wrap, at first, we thought of glutinous rice, which is Chinese traditional ingredient to make eatable membrane. So we initially made the glutinous rice film, but as a result, we can see that glutinous rice film is easy to break and it doesn't have enough flexibility to be a wrap. We wanted to improve our film and make its property can approach the plastic wrap. Therefore, we thought of the procedure of making bioplastic, which use glycerin and acetic acid to improve the cornstarch membrane. So we use glycerin and acetic acid to improve our glutinous rice film as well. We can see that the improved glutinous rice film has better flexibility, which made it easy to break, but it has poorer transparency than the original glutinous rice film. After that, we thought that alginate can be used to make non-plastic straw. Therefore, we tried to use alginate to make our non-plastic membrane. But there are some difficulties to make our alginate membrane. So after a lot of failure, we invent a new procedure of making the membrane. First, we fix the thickness of the paste into 1 mm high, and we spray calcium chloride solution on the surface of the paste. After we take away the increased pad, we use hot air dryer to dry our paste. Finally, we got our membrane. After making the membrane, we can see that alginate's transparency is better than the glutinous rice film, but it still had the problem of lack of flexibility. So we still use glycerin and acetic acid to improve our alginate membrane. We can see that the improved alginate membrane has better transparency and flexibility than alginate membrane. We thought that alginate membrane, which used 2% of alginate sodium, is the best one, that it is the most similar to the plastic wraps in market. In the procedure of improving the membrane, we found out that glycerin and acetic acid are the key addition of making the membrane. Therefore, in the second part of the experiment, we started to discuss the impact of glycerin and acetic acid on the property of the membrane. First, we discussed the impact of glycerin on the paste viscosity. We can see that viscosity didn't show an obvious trend. After we make the paste into the membrane, we can see that we thought the best membrane is the one with 2 grams of glycerin, which adhesion to other things and the transparency are the most similar to the plastic wrap. We discussed the effect of acetic acid on the alginate membrane. We can see that the membrane becomes stronger when adding more acetic acid in it. It showed that acetic acid can improve the strength of the membrane.
Then we set 2 grams glycerin as a fixed parameter and regulated the concentrations of acetic acid to see how its influence on the paste viscosity and the membrane. We can see that the more acetic acid we added, the higher the paste viscosity was, but the bubbles also increased, and the strength of the membrane will increase as well. Because the membrane added 2.5 grams acetic acid was not easy to eliminate bubbles, and the one added 2% algin, 2 grams glycerin, and 1.5 grams acetic acid was much similar to commercial plastic wraps than other wraps. So we defined it as eco-friendly non-plastic wrap and did the following tests. In next part, we compared it with commercial plastic wraps. We tested its opacity, puncture strength, tensile strength, and heat resistance tests. Though its opacity was higher than any other commercial plastic wrap, with naked eye, the items under it could still be seen clearly. In puncture strength test, we could see that its puncture strength was higher than that of PE plastic wrap, which was common to see in the market. In spite of its weaker tensile strength, it still has certain intensity and stretch length. The result of heat resistance test showed that the higher the temperature was, the more it changed the color. But when the temperature reached to 130 degrees Celsius, it still didn't break. In mechanical properties test part, we proved the membrane had commercial potential, so we took it in practical tests. We could see our wrap had good cold storage ability because the vegetables covered with it in the fridge didn't shrink and could still be seen clearly. When we did the microwave test, it was common to see the meal boxes covered with plastic wrap microwave in the convenience store, which would release the plastic sizers that harm our bodies. But through this test, we proved that our wrap could withstand high temperature and lipid exposure with a complete appearance after heating it and had no plastic ingredients contained in. Furthermore, our wrap had good storage ability because the more time it was, the less water content it had, and the water activity were all less than 0.6, which prevents the growth of microorganisms. Our wrap was an eco-friendly product as the unburied sample and buried one were corrupted almost completely, unlike the commercial plastics. In practical tests, we proved our wrap had no food concern when using it, had good storage ability, and was friendly to the environment. It had reached the initial market value. To summarize, our research successfully developed an innovative producing process to make eco-friendly non-plastic wrap. Our wrap can solve food safety concerns, and this new type of wrap can be decomposed completely, which was an eco-friendly product. This is the end. Thanks for your attention.